Milton Keynes Community Foundation's Vital Signs report revealed that in 2013 there were more than 10,190 people over 65 living alone in the new city. Studies have shown that the more connected we are, the better we fare. We are highly social creatures. We don't thrive in isolation, and neither do our brains. People are living longer. Consequently, more of us in the future may live alone or be supported only by non-family carers, and more of us are likely to suffer dementia.
Ted,
Living Archive Milton Keynes Lifelines project seeks to tackle these issues in a positive and unique way. It offers a chance for local elderly people living alone, in care homes or in palliative care, to create a recording of their life story for their families and for current and future generations in Milton Keynes. To test out this idea, we undertook a pilot at Shenley Wood Extra Care Village.
I was thinking that might be something where they want to reflect on...
A number of resident befrienders and family members were trained in interviewing skills and in specifically dealing with people with dementia. The other important part of the training was learning how to use the recording equipment to ensure that the recording of the interview was of an excellent sound quality. A list of topics was devised to act as a prompt for the interviewers, and they were paired up with interviewees. Everybody has a story to tell is the mantra of Living Archive Milton Keynes. The act of telling and recording a story enables people to establish their role in their community and to reflect on their life contribution and its legacy.
It's nice that I could, remember D-Day and all these empty beds in a ward and me wondering what on earth was going on, what this wasn't nursing. I wanted people to look after, not beds. And then all these soldiers coming in, and it was exciting, and it was, yes. But the smell was terrible because it'd all been just put plaster on the wounds and not... And so, of course, when we took the plaster off, it was, yes.
It's giving people the chance to reflect on their life, to see their life as a story. And I think for many people, that what happens is they talk about bits of their life, but the chance to actually talk about your life as a whole thing, I think for people, it means a lot. And I think that in doing that, they suddenly see things about their life that they hadn't even realised was a part of their story.
I had to do a bit of preparation because there are various milestones in one's life which are identifiable. These have specific impact on your life and give you directions. And I think what I found interesting was the journeys between the milestones.
I think it's got fantastic value. Yeah, Leslie's an example of someone who really approached it as someone who felt she didn't have anything to contribute. She had very little to say, but she had packs to say, actually. And I think when she listens to her own story, she'll realise that actually her story is a story of lots of people who've lived through the 20th into the 21st century, and the world around them has changed, but they've lived a life with all of this change going on around them, and it's learning from the ordinary.
Mary interviewed Marjorie, who had been evacuated to Canada during the war.
Marjorie said something in the interview which I thought was poignant. She said when she went, her mother had dark hair, and when she came back, she was completely grey. And that was only 5 years, but they were war years, and her beloved children were so far away. You can imagine, can't you?
The act of actively listening to someone talk about their life shows that person that their life is valued, a realisation that leads to enhanced self-esteem and self-worth. It also gives the listener an appreciation of others' lives, and through the relationship of teller and listener, it can lead to new friendships.
We took a little time. I came in several times to get to know Marjorie. One time she wasn't all that well, and we sat together, didn't we, and talked for some time. And then it's sort of built up. I suppose I'd come in 4 or 5 times before we started the interview.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'd just sit and chat. And I must admit, I adore her. She's just lovely. And I didn't find it a chore at all.
Vice versa, you see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I got to know Liz because of it, and it means that Marjorie and I can interact here now, which is what this is supposed to be about, neighbourliness.
For the interviewees, the process of telling their life story can be a very enjoyable one.
I quite enjoyed it, because you don't often talk about yourself for so long, do you? Because it's usually a conversation, you know, you only get your bit now and again, don't you?
I enjoyed it because I don't talk very much about the Canadian experience really, because everybody's heard it here. And it's gone. It's
It's a fresh
over.
pair of ears, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And also I've forgotten a lot because I've lived a lot since then.
So, what are your early memories, apart from your grandfather, of your parents and living? Well, I know you didn't live in Eastbourne long. You moved to the London area, to the Crystal Palace area in particular.
Yeah.
What are your early memories of that?
Some of the interviewees doubted whether anybody else would actually be interested in what they had to say.
Well, I think they're not so interested, my children, as I was. With my grandmother I used to say to my grandmother, tell me about olden days, Grandma. But with my children, they're not really interested. They sort of a bored look comes on their face when I try to tell them about how I sort of looked after soldiers in the war and what we did.
I think it's really important for not just me, and I value it greatly, but for society as a whole down the track. Because we have to learn from what's gone before.
I will give it to my son. So it's there for him, should he want. It's all about a link, isn't it? I'm a great believer in having the links to the past. It's a great believer in having the links, keeping what we call the family chain, the links going on.
I think it's absolutely fantastic because I think growing up, I probably didn't ask my mum. I knew she'd been to Canada and been evacuated and knew a little bit about her life as a young girl, but only really got interested when I was older and knew more what it meant. And I think her grandchildren will also get to that stage where they'll be fascinated that they are quite interested now, but I think to have a tape with her voice on it, it'll be really, really nice for them to have that continuity of her life, because it'd be so different to their lives they've had growing up, and my life, to be honest.
Yeah. The project at Shenley Wood was the first pilot of the Lifelines idea. Has it got a future?
Yeah, I mean, when we started it, obviously we didn't quite know what to expect. We didn't know what the uptake would be. We didn't know how residents would be at interviewing other people, even with the training. So we gave it our best shot, I think, at the time. I don't know necessarily that it needs to be any different, but I think we need to work on the time frame and everything. You know, we didn't anticipate residents being ill or going on holiday or anything like that. We thought, me included, that we could just breeze in, interview these people and everything would be fine and we could run it over just a few weeks. So we've learnt from that is not the case, and I think if other people were being trained, it's an important part to get over to the residents who are going to do the actual interviewing, because otherwise it gives them the wrong impression, and some of them did become just a little bit down and lost track for a couple of weeks because they wanted to get on with it and they couldn't. So I think, yeah, maybe if we did it again, we'd put some more emphasis on that.
Projects like this are fantastic because not everyone's a writer, and writing does take time. It is a skill, whereas everyone has the skill of conversation. We're born into it. You know, we're language beings. So to get that creativity everyone has in their everyday conversation is part of the wonders of this project, I think.